Hey, I'm Tim Bass. I'm not real. You might be. I'm going to recount a bit of one of the moments that became infamous in my players' gaming group. We had a couple of extra players visiting, so that we were running our normal game, but doing some lighter than normal stuff to include the visitors. Essentially, at the time, we were playing a pretty standard but complex Hero Academy style game, so the visitors were just members of the lower class while we were the upperclassmen. The scenario at this moment was taking them out to a water park as an aside to spur on some roleplay and put the younger characters out amongst the normies. During this scenario, since my player tends to dominate the dialogue, he chose to have me exit the primary interaction and only supervise. This shouldn't have been a problem, as I was the oldest and most married person there. Letting the other players have the spotlight shouldn't have been a problem, or so my player thought. Instead of seeing it as a chance to shine, it turned into a huge steaming pile of resentment for leaving them up to their own devices. The other players decided that it was more important to be resentful of my player for not being there to solve their problems than it was to take their own chance to shine on their own. This was the point in gaming with the group that my player really started to notice how the players didn't want to engage with the NPCs. Instead, they wanted to pretend to roleplay with each other about nothing so that they could keep from having any entanglement show up in the story. Now I'm not so wet behind the ears that I expect everyone to be at the same level of play or have the same desire for the outcome of the game. However, if you're playing a game that is about being creative, interacting, and coming up with interesting ways of dealing with situations that your not real person with superpowers is encountering, perhaps you should be engaged with the story, instead of playing on your phone. One of the standards of groups is that someone has to be in charge. There has to be a person who keeps things moving and leads from the front. In this group, when my player joined and already in progress, he quickly became de facto leader no matter what game was being played. Over time, this led to a state of apathy among the other players, and they stopped doing for themselves. This wasn't quick, nor was it noticeable at first, but over time it got worse. My player should have seen it a lot sooner, when you had moments in a 3.5 game where my player got so frustrated with how slow things were moving in combat that he asked if they just wanted him to move their minis around the map and tell them what dice to roll. When they all assented to that option, you should have known there was a problem. Now, the aforementioned water park scenario didn't involve any major plots, it didn't even require any combat. What it did require was dealing with some small social interaction issues, and one moment where one of the younger students got picked on by a group of teen boys and lost her bikini top in the pool. That being the most dramatic thing that happened the entire day. But in all of that, the players ended up grouped together in a circle jerk of failure. No matter how easy the situation was, like getting the girl a towel and a shirt, the players stared blankly and shrugged because they couldn't work out a solution that didn't involve using their mutant powers. I've been all over YouTube and the internet, and I have yet to find a solution for apathetic players who don't see their own apathy. All I can say is that in the end, if you've got players who'd rather be on their phones than play their character and be involved, or if they say things like, "We don't like politics in the game," or "We need railroad tracks," then say fuck no, Snake. Find some new players. Eat that game and the snake with some mayonnaise. I'm Tim Bass, and I'm a part-time superhero.